Welcome to the Be the CEO of Your Life live show, where we empower business owners to work smart, earn more, and live better. Every week, I share actionable insights and strategies from my international business coaching experience designed to help you scale your business effectively. And we feature industry experts who offer their perspectives and tips. Tune in, get inspired, and take your business to the next level. And today I am very excited to have Howard with me. Howard, welcome.
Thank you. It's a thrill to be here. Really is. Thank you, Yvonne.
Can you please introduce yourself to the people that are listening or watching us?
Sure. So I've been an employment attorney for over 30 years. My name of my law firm is Oliver Feldman. I do all the employment work, both for management and also for professionals. The professional side is a private passion of mine. And my four daughters love the fact that I'm working with professionals, mostly women, in developing their careers. My wife and I also have a separate business called NAV. And what NAV does is it does an assessment of your current career track to determine whether remaining in a current position is in your best interest or it's time to move on, and then get you the coaching that you need.
I love that. So talk about this because you mentioned when we had an earlier conversation that employees are the biggest assets of a company. And I know that you know that, but many people that are listening may not be aware of it. And what I often find with business owners is that they are focused on making profit, which is normal because that's why we're in business. Yet, I'm a firm believer that if your employees are unhappy, the profit can never be as high as when your employees are happy. Tell me a story about that, how you've experienced that firsthand.
So, there's so many people need, I believe, to feel that their time is valued, because you are your greatest asset. Human beings are capable of extraordinary increases organically in value, unlike any other asset on the planet. Our biggest asset and our biggest liability is time. So over the course of time, we become more valuable as we learn things and we develop new skill sets and we become more social creatures, and businesses benefit from that like nobody's business. Because if you've worked 20 years in an industry and somebody hires you, you now are bringing that 20 years of experience with you wherever you go. My clients and the clients of NAV have developed a greater understanding of their personal value on their career journeys, and realize that every place they go is just a stepping stone in their career. It's not the last place they'll be. That place may, or whatever reason, not appreciate their value. And we do an assessment that enables employees to kind of open their eyes to the fact that a job, just like, let's say, a car that you take off the lot, immediately begins to depreciate in value unless you put the kind of time in, or the business is progressive enough to say, we really value you, Yvonne. We're going to promote you. We're going to send you off to do more training. We're going to expand your skill set. We're going to give you a team so you could focus on other things. If your job stays static, it will decline in value. And when you compare where you are against the market, you will absolutely find better opportunities. So the smart employers are there to help you with your growth. And this is a program that everyone can benefit from. Employers desperately need to know what they need to do to make your careers more successful, because it costs them so much money if there's involuntary attrition, if you walk out the door and they didn't want you to walk out the door. And those stories that I have are on both sides. I have the employers say, I can't believe I let these people go. The employees who say, I can't believe I was let go because I stayed here too long, because I didn't look at a job the right way.
So tell me about, I hear you that often people aren't aware of, and especially employers, and business owners, they aren't aware that their employees go like, well, I'm almost out of here, right? So how, as a business owner, do I recognize that my employees might be unhappy? How do I know?
Well, for the most part, I will tell you that the signs are all there. If you've got any kind of competent HR team, or you've got someone that you can consult with on HR, you'll see the signs. The closed doors, people who are only getting involved when there's a Zoom call, they never reach out, they never communicate, their emails are stilted. and then you hear through the grapevine that people are unhappy. People express themselves in interesting ways, but for the most part, I don't know of a single employer that doesn't know if its key people are happy or not.
Right.
And the check-ins are a great way of doing it. Don't wait to do the 6 or 12-month performance assessment. You want to be checking in all the time. How are you doing? How are things? What can we do to make your job easier? What can we do to make you more successful? Like anything else, think of it kind of like a plant, right? If you leave a plant in a dark environment without any kind of fertilizer or any kind of water, the plant will wilt. It's guaranteed to happen, right? Unless it's a cactus or something, right? And you're going to watch that happen over time. The greatest failing of employers today is neglect. Greatest thing. And not having a plan for success that you want to build for every employee. There has to be a track going forward for them.
I hear you. So it's like finger on the pulse, having regular check-ins, listening to what you hear, whether it's through the grapevine or directly. And the telltale is when the doors are closed. I hear all of that. Now, I've also experienced that sometimes, as much as I love employees, they're not always asking for things that are within your power. Let's be honest, right? We all know that employee that always wants a promotion, that always wants more money, even when the business isn't there and everybody knows the business isn't there. So how would you say to deal with that? Because as much as you want to, create an atmosphere and a culture and an environment for employees to stay, but some employees just over ask. What would what's your experience there?
I think that alignment of expectation is not just important at the outset of a relationship, but that's the whole point of the check-ins, is to keep that kind of alignment going forward. The most enlightened employees will be the ones to know if the business isn't there, if their bonus is conditional upon increases in business, and that business increase hasn't come in the door. Both the employer and the employee need to take a hard look at that and say, how much of that relates to this employee? Did this employee kill themselves to get us where we are? Because if you take the position of, well, the business didn't grow, so I'm not going to give you a bonus, then you have to be prepared for the fact that the employee leaves. And that employee may be keeping the lights on in the building. So you can't just simply say objectively, well, we didn't get the business in, so I don't think this employee deserves any kind of objective or subjective bonus, right? We all know ahead of time what's going to happen. The smartest employers among us know what will happen based upon the conversation we're going to have. If we tell them that the business is flat and you're not getting a bonus, you can expect an employee who's not otherwise invested as an equity holder in the business is going to say, well, why does that necessarily concern me? You're running the business. I'm just running sales or marketing or whatever. To the extent that they could say that they contributed to either the boost in business or the business being flat, most of us will say, well, it's realistic that I didn't get a bonus this year, right? But you still have to find ways to motivate them. And that might be training or moving them into a new area or giving them assistance if they're overstressed. There are ways outside of money that you can help as an employer to make sure your employees are still satisfied with what they're doing, even if they didn't get to see it immediately from a monetary standpoint.
Yes, I love that what you point out now, because in my experience is that a lot of employees, it's not just about the money. It's very often not about the money, but it's about everything else. And if that everything else isn't included, then the money becomes more important. So right. I love that you stipulate that. Now, I want to talk about the employees, but I want to talk about it later because you have this amazing tool that we need to talk about. Even though not every employer will like it because the results might be not in their liking. Right. Let's touch upon it just now. I just want to understand a bit because you're an employment lawyer, right? So tell me from your experience what we as business owners need to be very aware of. What is brought to your attention that we could avoid? Because I'm almost seeing you as a last resort. Now I know how you operate, so I know that you give a lot of advice to your clients to preempt anything upcoming. But tell us, some of the things that happened that could have been avoided, maybe if they had listened to you.
So from an employer standpoint, the hardest parts of what we'll call the employee life cycle. So there's hiring, integration, retention, and then the elimination or separation if it should come to that. The most difficult part of any employer's day in the life cycle of an employee is the integration, which we also call onboarding or engagement. And then we have the retention problem. You need to make sure that there is something for the employees to look forward to at all times. There has to be a light at the end of the tunnel. And sometimes that involves some kind of a stock incentive plan or a phantom equity plan where they benefit when the company exits, that there'll be a reward as if they were, treat them as if they were actually owners of the business, right? Or you create some kind of bonus pool, which says, if the company makes this much money, we're going to fund this pool. This pool will be based on X. You'll get a percentage of it based upon Y. So you're saying to the employees that there's a lot that they can do to directly impact whether or not the year is successful for them. From the employee's standpoint, you're always going to find jobs out there that are going to be more lucrative than the job you have. The question you need to ask yourself is, what are the trade-offs? What are what we call the opportunity costs of moving from one position to another? What would you be giving up if you move from one position? The devil that you know is sometimes better than the devil that you don't, right? That fear of the unknown. On the other hand, if you've been in the same position 3 to 4 years, you haven't gotten a promotion, there's no advancement opportunity, your manager has been there for 20 years and has no interest in resigning, then the writing is on the wall that this job will not benefit your long-term career. Because remember, there was a famous artist who once said that life is the art of drawing without an eraser, right? And so that's what ultimately happens. You continue in this career path. There's no way to go back. And unfortunately, as we age, certain opportunities that would otherwise make themselves available are foreclosed. There was a recent report, and it continues this trend, particularly for women, that if you don't get to a manager level position by a certain point in your career, it's really going to hinder your growth and advancement opportunities as you go. And that means, just like when you buy a stock and you buy it too high and it starts to trend downward, you're really hurting your career trajectory, remaining in the worst jobs, taking lateral positions, taking step back because you think somehow it's going to be more money and so therefore it will benefit your family. But in the long run, those opportunities are actually a disaster for you. And our whole program at NAV is to teach you the basics of career trajectory, how we benefit ourselves, because just like they say that lawyers would be a fool to be their own client, most of us can never be objective enough in our own careers. We just can't. And that includes me. I could never be objective about myself and where I am, but I could be objective about you and your viewers as to where they are and help them see what they don't see. And it's that prevents us from really maintaining maximum career growth over, let's say, a 50 or 60 year period after we leave college or we get into the workforce.
Right. Yeah. So let's talk about that, because you're already setting it up, right? The tool that you created with your wife that is actually helping employees to plot where they are in their career and whether they are at the right spot or maybe they aren't. Tell us about what it is and how people can access it.
Sure. So navscoring.com is the website, and we have a great video that explains how it works. We also have a book called Navigating Career Negotiations, and that book really talks about how the mechanics of careers and why we created NAV. And I promise you, it's a great read. And NAV is only featured at the very end of the book. We don't talk about it for the majority of the book because we want you to understand what we're all about and how we're wanting to demystify or debunk all the myths about careers. But what NAV does is it's an AI-based program, but it's not traditional AI. It's not ChatGPT. It's not anything like that. It's actually reverse artificial intelligence. So what we do is we train the AI to think like me, and how I would approach if you were to spend time with me, asking you the right questions that will tell us exactly how your job would be scored on a 0 to 1,000 scale, just like a credit score. And then we can compare it to jobs that are out there in the marketplace so you could see how much better or worse another job opportunity might be. And over time, those numbers are undoubtedly going to change. They may change for the better, they may change for the worse. And we have coaches that can either help you manage where you are and the challenges that you're facing in your careers, or help you navigate and negotiate a much better position, which, by the way, is my favorite thing to do as an employment lawyer. There's nothing better than helping someone realize their value and make the money at the same time. Most jobs, whether it's directly changing the terms and conditions of comp or changing the terms and conditions of the offer, can be improved by 20 to 30%. And it's what we don't know. Again, what the little things that we go over in our book, the offer letter that says you have to be employed on the date the bonus is paid, but bonuses aren't paid for 60 or 75 days after the end of the year. So you say, well, wait a minute, I was fired 30 days into the new year and they're telling me I don't get a bonus. That's all part of the contract. It's not the employer's fault that you didn't read the contract thoroughly. On the other hand, you'd say to yourself, it's disappointing that the employer would put that provision in if you earned your bonus for the year. But again, people don't understand you are not making a contract with a person. It doesn't matter whether you're negotiating with a headhunter or the CEO. You're making a deal with a piece of paper, an entity that has no existence. And the people that you're working with are your peers, but you're not really working for them. You're working for a piece of paper, and you have to get that piece of paper right. And you have to make the right career moves with the people once you get there, so that they will help you in your career and help you develop it, or demonstrate to you that you would be better served being somewhere else.
Right.
And and to give people heart as well, it is still what I would call a seller's market, meaning it's the employee's market. You are in 100% control of your career. It may not seem that when you're facing the scare of a layoff or you're looking for a job, but at the end of the day, it's all about you. The issue isn't so much about what you do, it's who you go to for guidance.
Right.
And whether it's through Nav or through you, Yvonne, or someone else, you have to have a coach. We are well beyond the most amazing thing to me that I discovered in the last 30 years was an epiphany one day when writing the book and saying, it's really funny. I probably had about 30 coaches by the time I was born until the time I hit college. And then we hit college and we think like mission accomplished. I don't need a coach anymore. Look, I really appreciate all your time. My football coach, my Little League coach, my piano coach, or whatever we have. Now I'm an adult and I know everything. When in fact, that's the time that you need coaches the most, because you don't realize you're entering into this strange universe of working for people.
Yeah.
We're very good at what we do,
yeah.
but we're not very good at negotiating how we do what we do.
So that's what you would recommend as well to people when they get into a new, so they do the assessment, they feel like, hey, I need to move. You can't work it out with the employer. As employer, you can't or you don't want to work it out. Let's be honest there, because sometimes it's also best for the company to say farewell to someone that's worked for you. I actually think that a lot of companies hold on to wrong employees. It's a whole different discussion, but I totally see that happening as well. And then they go into a new area, and then you say it's almost pivotal to have you by their side to negotiate that contract.
Right. And look, I never sell myself. I never have. All that I will tell you is that those who have worked with me have had remarkable changes and transformations in their career. One of my favorite stories, a very close friend of mine now, who was negotiating for a senior vice president position. And when I looked at what she was doing, I said, this is a terrible opportunity for you. It's not much better than the one you had. Why are you moving? Why are you moving? Well, my opportunities are being foreclosed. And he said, do you think that your prospective employer is kind of aware of how you're feeling? Yes. Well, then your mindset is being borrowed onto them. And like any other entrepreneur, if I can pick you up for 30% less than what your real value is, I'm going to do that all day. For those of us who have heard it before, if you go to a garage sale and you see a Picasso that's sitting there with a $5 sticker on it, most of us would probably say, boy, I really like that painting. Some of us might say you're selling a Picasso, and but the rest of us would probably just grab the Picasso and then run to the art gallery and see what it was really worth, right? And there's all of these, shows on television about like Pawn Stars, where they evaluate what something's really worth. And the guy on the show is like, I'll give you that thing that I know is worth $1 million, but I'll give it to you for $1. I'll buy it for you. So we're doing that every day. We are selling ourselves short every single day, either because we validate ourselves by what other people think rather than ourselves, because we believe what someone tells us about how little they think we're worth, when they can't wait to close the deal.
Yeah.
Right. You have to look at yourself as the best stock you ever own, the best asset you will ever have. And we will help you see that true value. And in this individual's case, she ended up becoming chief medical officer within 2 years. And she did that because she knew that was the position she wanted. And she actually fought for that position, and she got that position. She didn't even have to negotiate for a salary, because as soon as we changed the conversation from SVP to CMO, immediately the salary changed. We didn't have to do a thing. We negotiated after the fact. And she called it magic. And I said, you're the magic.
Yeah.
The magic was how you viewed your future, not how I viewed it. I just challenged you on why you wanted that other job. And that's the magic of every coach I've ever had. They challenge you to think differently. And that's the beauty of coaching.
And that's what we're going to end with, Howard. It was amazing to speak to you and to hear you. And I love that you said every coach brings magic. So that's truly what we want to stop with. If anybody wants to do the assessment, or as an employer as well, check it out. As an employee, especially, do it. navscoring.com. We will definitely share it with you. If you have any questions for Howard, please feel free to reach out. If you want to talk to me about scaling your business, do so as well. And I'm just going to close it now. Thank you for joining us on the Be the CEO of Your Life live show. If you're a driven business owner aiming to scale your business and achieve outstanding growth, I'd love to help you get there. My international business coaching is designed to help you to work smart, earn more, and live better. So see you next week. Howard, thank you so much for being here with me.